Action.
Happy
Hi.
Truthful Tuesday!
Happy Truthful Tuesday! This is our what number video?
I don't know, because we record ahead of time.
Oh!
Welcome back.
Busted.
Busted. This is how candid we're trying to be. This will not be edited.
Nope. Because then it wouldn't be real. Oh, man.
She gave away our secret.
Sorry, guys. I thought, man, we're on a roll.
But last time we did talk about how we are going to bring some Zoom
Oh, yeah.
aspect into this. Zoom is like a live meeting type stuff.
Yeah.
So the days we actually release these videos, you will have an opportunity to have a live conversation with us.
Yes, and ask us questions.
So that's to come. It's in the works.
Yes.
Look forward to that.
To a theater near you.
Yes. And you need to speak up.
I know. You know what's crazy is that when I said that, I was like, God, that was so low. Projection.
We're working on it.
Yes.
We are works in progress.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
I'm very grateful, and I'm sure Ronnie is too, for all of your feedback. And I think the greatest feedback I've gotten is the fact that we have improved, and you can
Yes.
see our improvements, which is what we want.
Yes.
Those little things make such a huge difference.
Yeah.
And our first video is nothing like our latest
No.
one. So great.
Yeah, which is what yesterday's Truthful Tuesday talked
Was
about.
about,
I mean,
yes.
self-improvement is not just self-improvement, it's like project improvement,
Yeah.
whatever. So you see yourself grow from where you started.
Exactly.
But you won't know how much you've grown unless you start.
Yes. You gotta start.
So, okay, today's topic, I had a client actually remind me of what we should talk about, why we started these Truthful Tuesdays, and the main
Exactly.
reason was to have conversation.
Yes.
Conversation
Real
is
conversation.
a key component to why we started what we started.
Absolutely.
This girl is from Miami.
Hi.
I'm born and raised in Sacramento, California. Woohoo, Sacktown. And we crossed paths via life. The universe needed us to
Absolutely.
meet.
Yep.
And, the first conversation was not like the conversations we have now.
No, absolutely not.
Because it was like, testing the waters. Like, you dip
Yep.
your toe and you're like, how far can I take this conversation with this person when it comes to like spirituality
Of
or
course.
talking about love, life things.
Yeah.
And it was weird because, well, it wasn't weird, but each time we met, it became deeper.
Oh yeah.
The conversations became deeper.
Absolutely.
And we just knew it was something that was meant to be. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the conversation I had with my client was that there's such a lack of conversation amongst people I'm just going to say in our nation right now. Because yes, it's in the world, but let's bring it home a little bit in our nation. Because there's a lot going on right now in our country.
Oh yeah.
A lot of turmoil, a lot of divide, and those divides are created. And the more you are shown divide and the more you think about divide, the more you start dividing yourself out
Oh for sure.
of society
Yeah.
and only being around people that think like you, but you don't grow that way.
No.
And sometimes you actually don't know if someone might be having the same thoughts as you and wanting to also verbalize those thoughts. And unless you let that wall come down
Exactly.
and converse with that person, you're not going to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so,
I mean, I think that the usual case is that the person next to you does want to verbalize what they're going through.
yeah.
And what they're going through is most likely similar or common to what you're going through as
Yeah.
well. Like, we have needs as human beings.
Yes.
And they're not different depending on who you are or where you come from.
Yeah.
The most important thing we found within each other is the fact that you have the same needs that I do, and we both need to embody the same thing and live the same meaningful, purposeful life,
Yeah.
regardless of where we came from,
Yep.
right? Regardless of the religion we were taught, regardless of our upbringings, what part of the world we were from, our culture, we are still universally the same.
Yeah.
right? We're direct reflections of each other because we both need the same things.
Yes.
We may receive it in different ways. Your music taste may be different than mine, but we need the same thing.
Yeah.
So chances are the person next to you is craving the same exact thing that you are,
Yeah.
and doesn't know how to voice that to anyone because they think that it's just them.
Yeah.
And they're alone fighting this battle.
Yep.
That they're not fighting alone.
Yeah.
And that conversation, if it never happens, they feel alone.
Yeah.
And they think that they will never be able to verbalize it.
Yeah.
And never have someone that understands them. And when you take a leap, right, and have a conversation, like you said, test the waters and say like, oh, you get this? Just like I do?
Yeah.
Right? Or you've experienced this? Well, so have I.
Yeah.
Right? And you take the leap and actually build a relationship with someone, right, through conversation. You're able to connect with someone in such a deeper level.
Yeah. I mean, think about that in dating. That's why people date, right? Like, they go out, they meet, they want to have a conversation to get to know someone better. Yeah. And you can do that without dating someone. Like, it can be just your friend or a coworker. In her head, I don't know what's going on. And she doesn't know what's going on in my head. But sometimes we need to verbalize those thoughts so that we can either get feedback for growth or come to the realization that, whoa, you were thinking about the same thing? Exactly. How did you deal with that? Exactly. You know, and how did you grow from it?
Yep.
And the conversations need to happen. The more we suppress things, the more these negative energies hold us down.
Yep.
And it needs to be healed. It needs to be spoken and healed. And sometimes your healing may come from a source you don't know.
Absolutely.
And you won't know unless you just take that leap of faith and speak it and ask that person.
Yeah. And at the same time, I mean, because the fear is always going to be there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We've had the fear of like, when you feel like you need to test the waters, it's because you don't really know if you're going to end up like having a meaningful conversation, right? Not everyone is going to make you feel better through a conversation, right? They're probably struggling with things. They're probably negative. There are people that you have a conversation with and you're like, oh God, that was very draining, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know that unless you have a conversation.
Exactly.
So even if maybe they were draining you, you probably offered something to them.
Exactly.
And the more conversations you have with people, you get to kind of realize what kind of conversations you want to be a part of, right? I know without a doubt that the conversations I have with you when you hang out are great, right? Yeah. We both felt uplifted every time we hung out with each other through our conversation, because it was just a dialogue of positivity, a dialogue of like, I've struggled with this, you've struggled with this, same thing, we dealt with it in different ways, or I'm going through this, you've gone through this, you can guide me in a way that maybe no one else can, right?
Yeah.
We know we feel better through our conversations. But that's not the case with everybody that we have conversations with.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So it's okay. So basically, just like if you have a conversation with a person that you don't really enjoy having a conversation with, it's still valuable because you realize like, okay, well, that's not the type of conversation I want to have on a regular basis. It doesn't add value into my life.
And that's part of what I was going to talk about is the conversation. It doesn't have to offend anyone. You have to understand that sparking the conversation is one thing, but you have to also realize that this person's going to have their opinion, and you have to just respect their opinion at that. That's what I think in this day and age, people are just like, no, you have to think like I think. If I'm telling you this, you have to think like me.
Period.
But no, that's not the case. You have your opinion, I respect your opinion. It's the whole saying, we agree to disagree, correct?
Yeah.
And everyone is an individual and everyone's perception is different.
Exactly.
So everyone's bringing something different to the table, but part of it is respecting the fact that this person is different and that their view might be different, but you can also be open-minded enough to understand that their view is different.
Yeah.
And that comes with growth.
Yes.
But that's part of, what me and my client were talking about was that, yes, the conversation needs to happen, but people are having these conversations wanting to change the other person.
Exactly.
And no one's going to change unless they're willing to change. But you can speak your your piece and know that they'll take it in, but they may not agree with you, and that's okay.
It is okay.
But just start the conversation.
Absolutely.
Without offense, I guess.
Of course, and without fearing speaking because they won't agree with you.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like you said, the reality is that not everyone will agree with you, right? Not everyone is going to say, yeah, you know what, you're right. Yeah, what you said is exactly what I believe in, and everyone should believe in the same thing. No, there are going to be people that are like, that's BS, right? Like, no, I don't really agree with that. You're going to have disagreements, and I think that that's just as important for your self-growth, because you can kind of sit back and say, like, well, why do they disagree?
Yeah.
Right? What is it that they're not convinced with, right? Or what is it that I can help in their life? What is it that I can deliver to them to make them kind of understand my perception, right?
Yeah.
So that they can maybe not change their perception, but understand mine.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of being shut off. If someone says, no, I disagree with that and that's wrong, instead of you taking that offensively, or you not speaking because you fear someone will reject you, you speak it anyway, because if you are thinking it, it's important.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what people miss, is that everything is important. Anything that a human being is thinking of and speaking of is important. They deserve to be heard.
Yes.
And if you're allowing someone to speak their perception, even if it makes no sense to you and you're like, oh my gosh, wrong, even if it hurts you to hear, you still have to listen. I think that we owe it to one another to listen to each other.
Yeah. And
if we listen more and have more conversation, real conversation, not conversation that doesn't benefit one another.
No,
like, God, I hate my job, or oh, this sucks, you know.
Or all this like reality TV talk, or like, oh, what they show on the news now.
Yeah.
I remember when the news actually showed the news, like
and
and not what like Kim Kardashian was doing or something like that. But what was I gonna say? I totally forgot. Oh, that quote. There's a quote that most people nowadays listen to respond versus listen to understand.
Yes.
And you can still listen to a person or hear a person, and you can just process or digest what they're saying. You don't have to just right off the bat give a response, because a lot of times the quick responses, one, if they come from a place of anger, you're going to say something you're going to regret.
Exactly.
And two, it's not thought out, so even what you say may not even make any sense.
Yeah.
Like if you're just like vomiting it out.
Exactly.
But if you actually take in what they say and process it and then come up with a response or understand where they're coming from, then it can be a more civil conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's another quote
I love quotes.
where it's like like when people yell, it's like yelling isn't making them understand.
No,
raising your volume isn't going to make someone understand.
No.
But if you can have a civil conversation with someone, they're more likely to hear you.
Of course. And even if they still don't fully understand, I guarantee that they'll think about it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They'll think about what they're perceiving twice. If I tell you, Ronnie, no, that's stupid. Like, why are you even saying that? That doesn't make any sense. You're wrong. Ronnie's not going to want to talk to me. Like, we would not be doing these videos if that's how I approached everything she said, right? Like, you want to be heard. You want me to say, oh, I've never thought of it, right? I've never thought of it like that. Maybe you have a point.
Which is funny because, so the client that I was having this conversation with, you know, she grew up a certain way, but she switched to a different religion because she felt a calling to that religion.
Yeah.
And, whereas me, I never liked religion, but I love learning about different religions because I like finding the similarities.
Yes.
And so me and her, we always have very religious conversations. And for me, I'm asking her questions because I want to understand more about like Christianity or Lutheranism. And it's funny because so much of our conversation, a lot of times when it goes deep, is me saying something from my spiritual aspect and her going, you know, I never thought of it that way, you know, and even me, I've said that to her as well, like, oh wow, I didn't know that, or I didn't even think of it that way. And hello, religion is a very hot topic. So the fact that she and I can have these civil conversations, not just because I'm like client trainer, like trainee, but like, that didn't make sense. Client trainer. Yeah. But It's knowing that she feels safe,
of course,
talking that topic with me, because that's her profession.
Exactly.
And I feel safe in return, still expressing my opinion.
Absolutely.
And she respects my opinion, even though she, practices a totally different religion.
For sure.
Yeah.
And even if she's a diehard practicer, right? Like, you still make a valid point by communicating to her.
Exactly.
Right? Instead of yelling at her.
Exactly. It's communication. It's the conversation.
Exactly.
It's how you go about it.
The dialogue.
Yes.
The healthy dialogue.
Yes.
And I like what you said in the beginning, is how divide is created.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because of that divide that we feel the need to argue a point.
Uh-huh.
Right? It's like, no, your religion's wrong. My religion's right. So you're already coming at it as like, how can I make this how can I convert you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to convert you, and every conversation is going to be me proving that my perception is the right way, my religion is the right way, when that is not what it's about.
No.
It's about me saying, like, this is what I grew up knowing, this is what I've experienced. How many of the things that we have both experienced are basically the same?
Even though we grew up totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different religions,
Yes.
right? Like, totally different cultures.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from Miami. You know what I mean? It's like a complete different lifestyle.
Yeah.
I was basically brought into being Catholic, and then I was baptized as a Christian, and then I was like, no, I'm not really for religion at all. I love having a spiritual relationship with God and the universe, and that is what I kind of built on, growing up and going through what I've gone through. And it's like, everything is universally the same. I can sit here and argue, like, no, Ronnie, you're wrong. Christianity is what you should believe in.
It's the way.
It's the way. That's it. Like, rock the Jesus fish. Like, there is no value in that. There's value in me saying, like, look, in the Bible, it says, how many times do I send you Bible verses, right? Not to convert you into believing in Jesus Christ. It's so that I can be able to share my knowledge and the passage and what I feel it means, and how you could read it and say, like, whoa, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Not because it comes from the Bible and you have to believe in that title. It's because it's meaningful.
Yes.
Words are meaningful. The people that wrote these things should have been heard too.
They wrote it for a reason.
For a reason. For a simple reason.
And it has very much lost its way.
Yes.
Because, everyone thinks their way is the right way.
Yeah.
And no, like, everyone's journey is individual. Everyone's going to find the way that fits them.
For sure.
It's why you said you grew up Catholic and Christian, and now you're more spiritual.
Yeah.
But it's not to say you don't pull from that to help strengthen your spirituality.
Absolutely.
Which is why I love learning about different religions, is because I pull from those different ones to help strengthen my spirituality.
Exactly. And they're quotes, right? Like, you say, oh, like this quote, like that quote, right? They are they're things that people wrote about.
Yeah.
They're metaphors, right? They're things that
you just said the key word.
Yeah,
Metaphor.
Like, stop taking it so literally.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like they wrote it. It's like and I always talk about this. We both talk about it, how, like, if we wrote our journeys down, right? It's how I perceive my journey. So I could say that I wake up in the morning and the skies are just green, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I could totally write it down and say, like, and then the water that I had turned into apple juice. I don't know. Like, that could be how I'm perceiving my life and its transformations, right? That is how I am able to write it. That's my voice. Mm-hmm. And you can write it in a complete different way. And we're just both doing it so that people can see, hey, look, this is what transformation is about, right? This is what enlightenment is about.
Yes.
And then what happens is that along the way, people take it so literally, and they're like, is Ronnie right or is Ashley right?
Yeah.
Like, which one is the one that we should follow?
They lose the innate message.
Exactly.
Which is just that universal love, which every freaking religion speaks about.
Yes.
And that's what you're supposed to be practicing.
Love.
Like, love. Just love.
Love. It's so
simple.
The common denominator.
Yes. It very
is.
much is.
Yeah, and in every single... I mean, like, we should have a series where we just kind of dissect every single...
I love it.
Yeah.
I totally love that.
That would be awesome. Because it comes down to the same thing. It
does.
boils down to the only thing that will get you fulfillment, the only thing that will help you, even in conversation. You want to have a conversation with someone that cares about you.
Yes.
Right? That loves you.
Yeah.
Not the complicated love that everyone trying to talk about and be part of and have. It's simple. I know that I love you and you love me and we have conversation, and I know that because when we have conversation and we leave, I'm smiling and I'm like, oh, that was great, right?
We're
like,
happy.
I'm happy. We learned so much from each other.
Yes.
You know, you grow as a person, and that's what conversation is about.
Yes.
That's why we do this too, so that people, the things that we talk about, people want to talk about.
Yes.
And they don't know how to express it.
Which is how we're going to help, because we're going to end on this note.
Yes.
With things to come with the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have more and more people or guests on our show. Mm-hmm. And allow them to enter the conversation.
Yes.
Because Truthful Tuesday is about speaking your truth.
Yes.
And we want to hear other people's truths on the show.
And we want you guys to see that it's not just us. It's just like you are thinking about these things, and want to be able to talk to others about it. We want to show you that there are other people that really want to show their voices. It's
not just us having these conversations. There's people that are around us that want to be included in these as well.
Yes.
And you guys will see how easy it is.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you for watching.
We love you.
Bye.